Welcome, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. I'm your host for the show, Dr. Lino Martinez. Oh, yeah. Welcome back, everybody, to A Little Less Fear podcast. I'd like to introduce Christine Malek. She's the founder and creator of SASSI Coach, a motivational speaker and an international advocate for women against abuse and domestic violence based in Knoxville, Tennessee. Her unique approach brings out the strength and the light that shines in each woman, especially those that have survived abuse. She believes once you are out of that situation, there is an obstacle for that woman to face an even bigger challenge. What do I do now and who am I? Her SASSI program is designed to help you find those answers with a new beginning to get you to your goals and objectives of where you want to go and who you want to be. Being a survivor and a victor herself, she has made it her life's mission to help every woman to have sassy, encouraging women to ruffle some feathers and blow some minds. Welcome to A Little Less Fear podcast, Christine.
Thank you, Lena. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So yeah, I'm sure you get the question all the time. What does SASSI stand for? I love the word sassy, but what does it stand for?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sassy is strong, assertive, smart, sexy, independent. And I believe every woman has that essence and that core within her. And what happens when you go through abuse, whether it's physical, mental, psychological, verbal, sexual, no matter what the abuse is, that essence, that sassy in every woman gets way squashed. It's down there. And it's hard to bring it out. It from a perspective of I've been there, done that. It is hard. It took me a long time to find my sassy again. But that's what sassy stands for. Strong, assertive, smart, sexy, and independent. It kind of encompasses everything that a woman is.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? First thing I thought of when you said that was I'm transgender. The first 34 years of my life, I was a female. And you can imagine in 34 years, I mean, I've went through countless times of working in places where men were harassing me, especially because I was a very attractive female. And it just seems like the more attractive you are, the more harassed you get. So it was pretty bad where I even had a boss once. I think I was 18, 19. And he said to me, he comes from behind me and he's like, what would you do if I woke up one morning hard? And then I was like, oh, well, and he was my boss, and at the time I didn't know what to say. I was working on commission. I was number one in the department. And I was like, well, I can't let him down. Number one in the department. I was like, well, I guess I would take care of it. I remember feeling awful by even saying that, but it was just so like over this 6 foot man. I'm barely 5 feet tall. I'm like this little 90-pound attractive female. And all of a sudden I'm getting asked this question. And at the time I didn't know how to answer. And it's just, it stayed with me. I'm 42 years old now and I still have nightmares about that guy. So yeah, these things stay with you. I mean, they stay with you, even though I'm a different gender and don't even have the same name. It stays in your consciousness, and it's really hard to cut that cord. What advice do you give women when they experience harassment at work like that?
That's one of the things that I am trying to change in the world. Okay. Now, not only am I trying to bring light to the full spectrum of abuse, what you just described as that's work harassment, that's work abuse. Okay. Yeah. Not only am I trying to bring the light of abuse to the forefront, but we have to teach our children, girls and boys.
Yes.
That has to be step 2. Once we can fix mom and fix the woman, and it's not so much a fix, it's how to deal with it, how to become sassy. And what I've discovered is there's basically 3 stages that a woman who's been in an abusive situation goes through. The first one is obviously, get out. You got to get out of the situation. However, safely. I cannot stress enough. You have to get out of that situation safely. Lino, 1 in 7 women do not make it out alive. 1 in 7. Ooh. I know that's a statistic that I do not like. We have to change that.
Oh my
So that
goodness.
is stage one. You have to get out of that situation safely. You have to be able to talk to friends, talk to family. I sometimes I hesitate to say go to authorities because unfortunately I've been in the situation where the good old boys and the authority of a police officer and a man believes the man and not the woman. It's kind of like, oh, it's okay, honey, it's all right to go back inside and put your flip-flops back on and cook your dinner and take care of your kids. Well, we're not in that generation anymore. We are
No,
not in
no
that
way.
world
Oh no,
anymore.
people are waking up.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So that's stage one, is you have to get out. You find somebody to help you get out. If not, that's why coaches like me exist. That's why we're here, to help get you out of that situation. Stage two, I call the oh shit, now what moment. Okay, that's the you're out of the situation. You're somewhat safe. You've taken the precautions. You're away from that abuser. But now you get to a point of, now what? What do I do now? Who am I? Because our SASSI got squashed so bad, we have no idea who we are. We don't know, because not only did we have to deal with physical abuse, but that psychological abuse, that the being told all those lies that we were not good enough, we're too fat, too thin, too ugly, too pretty, we did this, we did that. Everything was our fault. All those lies that we believed for all that time.
Yeah.
So that's stage two. And that's really where I try and concentrate. Not that I wouldn't help all the others, but that's where we find the SASSI. We find each woman's SASSI and say, okay, so how do we need to make you stronger? How do we need to make you more assertive? What does that look like to you? What can we do to make you? And remember, sexy isn't always, flirting and showing body parts. Sexy is an inside essence. Okay, it's the way we walk, it's the way we carry ourselves, the way we talk, the way we present ourselves, that self-confidence. And of course, independence. Not only can we take care of ourselves, we're back to working again, because that is part of the abuse from a man, is that he will control finances, he'll control our friends, he'll control where we can work, when we can work, how we work, if we even work. So that is stage two. So stage three then is what I call and excuse my French, but this is kind of what I call it. It's the unfuckwithable stage. Okay. That's pretty much where we go, okay, you know what? I'm there. I'm SASSI. I know who I am. I know my goal in life. I know who I'm supposed to be. I know. Now, do we ever reach that? I've been, trying to heal myself for 4 years now. Will I ever reach that stage? I don't know. I'm not perfect. I have my
Sure.
days where, it's, triggers. The neighbors will slam his car door and it's a trigger. It's a trigger. I can't help it. But that's where I think that we have that. We have to be able to, we have to open these lines of communication, and that's really where I like to concentrate. So once that woman is on a healing path and on a healing journey, then she can go to her children and other women and help them and support them and say, listen, I got through this. That's why I do this, so that I can let these women out there know that they're not alone, because we feel so alone in that situation. We've had our family taken away. We've had our friends taken away. We've had our jobs taken away. We've had our dignity taken away. We've had our womanhood taken away from us. So I try to stress, we have to communicate. We have to talk about this.
We really do. I remember in undergrad, I can't even tell you the countless times where I'd be hanging out with a guy that I thought was my buddy, like we're cool, and the next thing I know, he's there standing there with his dick hard, and I'm like, oh, and he's like, and it happened so many times, and then I was like forced into sex, and then because I didn't say no, it was consensual. And it stayed with me, where I was just like, man, was it in my upbringing or in my education? Why don't they have classes for girls? Like, if this, I learn to be assertive. And
Yes.
I couldn't say, no, I don't want this. I don't know why I couldn't say that, but I couldn't say that. And I mean, now I can say that. But back then, when I was 21, 22, I didn't have the words to say that. I felt like it was my duty as a female to do that.
And where did that come from? We have to, that's what I'm saying. We
Where
have to
did that
change that.
come from?
Exactly, exactly. I went through too, any problems. I'm 57 years old. So any problems that came up, whether they be abuse or alcoholism, dealing with any drugs, that stuff got swept under the carpet because from their generation, we don't talk about that. Well, we have to stop that. We have to talk about it. If we talk about it,
That's
then
what
we
it is,
recognize it.
Christine. Don't say anything. Don't talk about things. That's where it comes from.
Yes, yes, yes. And unfortunately, we learn those bad habits as children in that environment from what our parents told us. So a lot of it goes, not only am I trying to help all the women out there, but we have to give them the tools and the wherewithal and the courage to to change and teach the children, because eventually if we don't, the cycle just keeps going and going. We have we
Oh
have to
yeah.
change the cycle. We have to break it.
Yeah, people talk about ancestral stuff, but the women in general, that's ancestral right there. So yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we definitely need to start. I man, my mind's just thinking a million miles a minute now. I'm also
Good, I
thinking
did
right
my
now.
job.
What's that?
I said, good, I did my job.
Oh yeah.
Get the brain
I'm also
thinking.
thinking, like, who's teaching the boys too? You don't do that. I mean, who's teaching these boys? And I wonder, are parents doing that now too? From the time they're 3, they need to learn. Don't do things like that. You can't be walking around with your pants off, or you have to, you know what I mean? Like it,
Or simple things,
I don't,
like or simple things like push, if you like a girl, don't push her on the playground. You're teaching that boy physical contact before he understands what physical contact is.
true.
Okay. Now you're also teaching that girl that, oh well, he pushed you on the playground. Well, he probably likes you. I learned that when the boys pushed me on the playground. Oh, it must be mean that he likes me. Oh, we know now where that
That's
leads to.
so true.
Right?
What?
Right. Unfortunately, it does land on in a situation where the mom has to take the children out of that abusive situation, because that's the other thing. We have to stop the children seeing that. And a lot of women are so afraid to leave for a myriad of reasons, to leave an abusive situation. One of them, the biggest one being because of the children. What are you teaching the children? What are they seeing? That daddy is hurting mommy. Mommy cries, but mommy's still there. They don't understand. If they're younger, the child doesn't understand. It's not till, but those lessons and those things that child picked up from the environment stays with them forever. And again, that cycle doesn't break. So it, unfortunately, it is up to the mom somewhat. She has to heal herself first, or at least get help before she can help the children. And yes, we have to talk to the boys just as much as our girls. Just as I have 2 boys and a daughter. Okay, my daughter's in the middle. I taught my boys early on, you never lay a hand on a girl. I don't care what she does to you. You never lay a hand on a girl. I taught them that. That was just something I knew to teach. Not that, I didn't have any of that, although I grew up with 2 younger brothers and then 2 older uncles. I mean, obviously I was a tomboy, but that's what I was expected to be. I was the only girl between the 5 of us. That's what we did. We played
Mhm.
rough, we played army, we played, on all the
Yeah.
cars and trucks. I mean, very, very, very little did I have Barbie dolls or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But we have to teach your boys as moms. We have to. Now, if you're a single dad, hopefully you can. And it's harder for men, I think, which is another reason that we have to open up this
And there's a
conversation. Men.
lot of single fathers these days.
Yes, yes. So we have to open up this conversation even more so that dads know it's okay to get help. If not for yourself, do it for your children so that
Yes.
they don't see. Because remember, if mom was the abusive one, and let's you want that statistic, Lino? 1 in 7 men will experience some sort of abuse from their spouse, wife, partner, whatever, in their relationship in their lifetime. 1 in 7.
Wow.
Yeah, so men are not immune to this. They need to know that it's okay to find help, seek help, get counseling. How do I teach my kids? How do I let them know that what mom did was wrong, and that so that they don't become abused by a narcissistic woman out there later in their life, or the other way around. They saw mom abusing dad, so maybe that's what I'm supposed to do in my relationship. So much of the world would be healed right now if everybody. I said the other day, I said, we have to learn to communication, and it's not just with our mouth and our words. Okay.
Right.
Communication it's listening just as much as talking. It's looking at body language. An exchange of information and ideas is what it is. So we have to learn. God gave us 2 ears for a reason and one mouth for one.
Yeah.
So we have to learn to listen. We have to learn to know the signs, see the signs, and address them, and help whoever needs help. But we can't do it if we're not opening up this type of communication.
What do you find women reaching out to you the most about? What do you find the most thing that you hear most often?
It's dealing with the psychological, the physical bruises heal, the bones heal, the all the physical things that have been done, they heal, but it's that psychological. It's all those lies that we were told, as I stated earlier, that, we're not good enough. We're not this, we're not that we're lesser. It's like going back 100 years with dealing with this abuser, that we're just, it's hard. It's hard. And I can tell you from experience, I 6.5 years, I was in an abusive relationship, and it's not easy. And it doesn't happen. And that's a lot of what, not only the women that come to me for coaching, but other people out there listening that, they ask me, well, they automatically assume abuse being a physical. Okay. And it never starts out physical. Never. Very rarely, I should say, does it start out as physical, the slap across the face, the smack upside the head, the punch in the arm, whatever that is. Okay. It's usually a verbal and that psychological abuse that happens in a relationship. And that is hard to deal with because it goes to our core, it goes to our mental state, which becomes more fragile and more susceptible to even more abuse psychologically and verbally. Mm-hmm. It's tough. It's tough. I know the signs, look for the signs. Anything from, I always had, black eyes. I had bruises all over my body. Now this all happened in the state of Florida, even though I'm now currently in Tennessee. This happened in Florida. So Florida has basically 2 seasons, summer and summer junior. Okay. So it's always hot down there. So when I'm wearing extra makeup to cover, the black eyes here or the blackness here, if I'm wearing extra makeup, or, I don't take my sunglasses off when I'm going to a store, long sleeves when I should be wearing short sleeves. The signs are there. We need to know. There are people close to us, whether it's, friends at work, that if you see those signs, if you see any, that's the biggest thing I can tell people: follow your gut, follow your instinct. If your instinct is telling you there's something wrong with this situation, address it. Okay, safely. A lot of women, we will not talk about it. Okay, my kids, they were young adults when all this happened. It was easier to just, mom's a pretty strong girl. There's no way. I know that's what they were thinking. Mom can handle it. Mom rides a motorcycle. Mom does this. Mom did that.
Yeah.
But it was hard for them to see mom go through this and they didn't know. As much as I taught my boys, don't hit a girl, I did not realize I would have to teach them these are the signs to look for. Mom got very distant. Mom did not make phone calls anymore. Mom had no friends anymore. Mom had no people over to the house anymore. Mom, got quiet. Mom didn't go anywhere. Mom, all those tiny little things. And I'm sure if I asked them, now, were these red flags? They'd be going, oh yeah, well, we know now, Mom, but we didn't. So you have to know that we have to know the signals. We need to know what is there. And the biggest, if you suspect it, follow your gut. Follow your gut. Take that person aside. Don't let them say, because I've done that. I've been there. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I had 2 black eyes, had to go into work, made up this excuse that I tripped on the leashes for my 2 big German shepherds. Was it believable? I'm a Gemini. I'm an actress. Of course it was. Okay. But was it abuse? Without a doubt. Did I want to admit it to anybody? Oh, hell no. Hell no. Because that is so hard to admit that a strong, sassy woman like myself, even before the abuse, I was sassy. How could I possibly get into an abusive relationship? How could somebody that is so strong and assertive in every other area of her life now be an abused wife? How is that possible? How is it I don't know. It happens. And it doesn't happen with the physical abuse first. It's those, you made me do it. This is your fault. All those little things. His biggest thing was, well, I don't remember. And finally I would get to a point saying, just because you don't remember doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I don't remember it happened. You must have tripped and fell. I was somewhat sober enough to realize and remember that, you were swinging a rubber mallet at me and you broke my wrist and 3 cracked ribs, dude. I remember, but how do you address that? It's hard. It is very hard, Lena. It's hard. It's not easy to get out of a situation like that. That's why I said the first thing is safety. Get out. If it's not physical yet, and you suspect that, obviously the sexual abuse, if you say no and it's no and your husband forces you, that's rape, plain and simple. If it's verbal abuse, if he's constantly calling you names and berating you, that's abuse. Get out, because eventually it doesn't get better, ladies. It gets worse. And for me in my situation and the women that I coach, it gets worse. Get out when you can, safely. However,
how did you finally get out, Christine?
I had my moment in 2015, and that is when basically I contemplated either suicide or homicide. I don't even remember what led up to it. I was sitting on the toilet, crying my eyes out backwards. My hands were on the toilet, and crying was a big no-no. Pretty much, every one of those, manly men just do not like to see women cry. And I was crying and I was trying to keep it quiet. And I was in there crying, and I heard the drawer open, and I knew what he was going to get. It was my gun, that I had for protection before I had met this man. And I was sitting on the toilet, and the next thing I know, I felt the gun on top of my head, and he's screaming at me and yelling and cussing me out and, hitting me upside the head with it and yelling at me. And I lost it. I completely lost it. That was my breaking point in 2015. And I provoked him at that point. Pull the fucking trigger. Pull it. You pull the trigger. You don't have the balls big enough. You don't have the guts. End my effing life now, because it's a mess. I hate my life. I hate you. Everything. I mean, everything I could possibly curse at this man, and provoking him. I was begging him, pull the fucking trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Pull it. Okay. He did. And 2 thoughts went through my head. oh, he pulled the trigger and I'm still alive.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the second thought was, ah, shit, I'm still alive.
Mm.
Okay. I mean, at one point I was happy I was alive, kind of. And then the next moment I'm going, ah, shit, I'm still alive.
Yeah.
Which meant I had to still deal
with
with
it.
Exactly. So as the blood's trickling down my head and I can smell the hair burning on my head and I could, see the hole in my bathroom wall in front of me, I smacked upside the head again, see what you made me do. Like I made him do it. Like I put my finger on his finger and
Yeah,
told him to pull
right.
the trigger, But that was typical for the abuse. So
Sure.
as I'm sitting there and he's, yelling at me and hitting me with the gun on the side of my head and blood's trickling down. And obviously he doesn't care. He put the gun back in the drawer. And then I sat there and I thought, suicide? Do I just take the gun back out and do it myself? What he couldn't do because he's such a weak man? Or do I go and get the gun? And do I commit homicide? Do I go out to the living room and pull the trigger on him?
Mm-hmm.
And it was at that moment that my kids meant more to me than that. And I had attempted suicide several times before this point. This was definitely the straw that broke the camel's back. And I thought, I'm not going to jail for this SOB. I am not, as much as it may be justified, maybe, because it wasn't self-defense. He was already out of the room. He was sitting down, probably taking a shot of tequila or two. It would not be self-defense. I mean, I kind of somewhat thinking the thought through a little bit. And I thought, no, you know what? My life is worth more than this. My kids are worth more than this.
Absolutely.
He certainly is not worth this.
Right.
And at that moment, I was like, okay, I have to make a plan. I just have to make a plan. I have to figure out, how do I get him out? It was my house. We got married. I own the house. His name was not on any deed, mortgage, nowhere. So I got lucky in that particular situation. Okay. It was at that moment that I said, this has got to stop. This is not me. I'm not that type of woman to be able to be taking this kind of crap from a man.
Yeah.
I grew up with two brothers and two uncles that were, right there. I know how to fight. I can shoot a gun. I can shoot a bow and arrow. I played sports. This is not me. It took a good long moment. And I thought, okay, I have to get out. How do I do this? How do I go about getting him out of my house?
Mm-hmm.
As it turned out, I really didn't have to do a whole bunch, although I did. I turned to what I found worked for me, and that was to find mindset quotes, things that kept me going mentally throughout the day, okay, to be able to deal with him. It would be maybe printing out, writing a couple little cards, when he got in his mood and the abuse continued after that, I would pull out an index card and just read it. And it could be anything from, the strength or the resilience or that I'm better, that, God has a different plan for me. Whatever that quote was, that is what I needed for that day. And that was the only thing that got me through. Every day I would look at one quote every day that I could find on the internet. As it turned out, I had a higher power or an angel, God, whatever your religion is, whatever you'd like to call it, the universe, for me, it was Archangel Michael, but I didn't know this at the time, because he had saved my life several times. Obviously, one of the times that I tried to commit suicide with this man, I had drank almost half of a gallon of Captain Morgan Silver rum. That was my rum of choice. Okay. That was my drink of choice, and a whole bottle of sleeping pills. Okay.
Oh, wow.
That's how much I wanted. And I survived it. I mean,
wow.
I couldn't sleep. I couldn't pass out. I know now that was my higher power. And for me, it was Archangel Michael saying, I got better plans for you. I got ideas. You're not going anywhere, Christine.
Right.
So that was in 2015. I ended up in, because the abuse continued and the alcoholism continued, I ended up in. So I had basically looked up, and it's many times throughout the first 4 years of the marriage, and basically said, put me in the effing ground or put me in the effing hospital. One or the other, because that's the only thing that's going to save my life. That's the only way I thought I would be able to get out of this situation. And of course, I attempted suicide several times throughout this marriage. Well, my higher power decided, okay, it's time, Christine, you're going in the hospital. So I did. I ended up in the hospital. I had I thought was flu symptoms, full blown fever, chills, sweats, diarrhea, vomiting, dehydration, the whole kit and caboodle. So I thought it was the flu. It wasn't. So about a week had gone by and I was not getting any better. And my youngest son came to me and he said, Mom, if you're not better by tomorrow, I am taking you to the hospital. So he takes me to the hospital. I did not, I wasn't getting any better. I looked terrible. I probably, dehydration. I end up in the hospital, and as the nurse in triage was taking my blood pressure on one arm, she's kind of looking and like, okay. And I'm looking at her, looking at my son, and she puts it on my left arm, same thing. And she said, Christine, let's get you back to a bed. And I said, okay, what's going on? She said, well, let's just get you back to a bed. And I looked at my son, being the funny girl that I am. I said, see, I'm too stubborn to die. Okay, not realizing and knowing all what I know now about Archangel Michael. Okay. And basically him saving my life many times throughout my life, even before this abuse. So I get to the bed, and they do a first surgery, exploratory surgery. They thought maybe that it was ovarian cancer because my pain was so far down there. Surgeon came in and basically said, it's not cancer, but I can't find what's causing all this. My blood pressure, Lena, just so that you know, was down to why she did it 3 times, was it was like 70 over 50. And when she finally told me that, I said, so you're telling me I'm too stubborn to die? And she said, Wow. She's like shaking her head, yes, but oh yeah, it was way low. Way low. Yes. So second surgery, they opened me up completely. They removed my gallbladder, my appendix, part of my colon, part of my intestine, and my whole left fallopian tube. And when the surgeon was in there, he said that the infection that was raging through my body had just destroyed all this. He had to take this stuff out.
Oh, wow.
The first words he said to me when I finally came out of recovery and that second surgery was his very first words, and I will never forget this. He said, Christine, if you take one more drink, you will die. The cirrhosis of the liver was so bad, he did not think that I would ever recover from that. In fact, we ended up talking about a liver transplant because my liver was so shot. So I did not find out till after the fact and after my fourth and final surgery and this is all took place in about 9 to 11 months, somewhere in there. So I did not find out till several months after maybe less, maybe more. I don't remember, because now I also got addicted to pain pills.
Yeah. Wow.
So, right. So I did not find out till after the several weeks that I had died on the operating table twice.
Wow.
Yes. Now, I didn't know this as I came out. Like I said, it was several weeks later. I am getting to answering your question, by the way. You asked me how I got out, how I got out of the situation.
Sure.
So long story short, I do finally get out of the hospital. I do finally get a little better. And I went through a really long time of rehab. The first stint in the hospital was 8 weeks. I had lost pretty much all my muscle. So, trying to, learn how to walk again, lift my arms again, do anything. I mean, it was painful. It was rough. It was tough. Okay. At one point, it got to a point several months later that I was doing well. I was out and about. I was actually driving again, getting myself to doctor's appointments, asking for my gastroenterologist. Hey, and this is where he said, because I said to my gastroenterologist, I said, I feel great other than I have absolutely no energy. He said, that's your liver. Plain and simple. That's your liver shot. I said, well, what do I do? And he said, transplant. And I was like, okay, but I don't think so. So I had gone to the then husband as I was getting better, and I had a conversation with him, and I tried to do my communication skills correctly. I was getting better. Nothing was really changing with him. I stopped drinking, obviously, because if I did consider a liver transplant, you have to be sober at least a year before they'll even consider putting you on the list. So I'd already stopped drinking, tried to clean up my act, I was trying to get exercise, eating right, protein, trying to heal my body. And actually, I was healing my liver in the meantime, just didn't know it. So I'm using my communication skills. I went to the then husband and I said, listen, this isn't working between us. The physical abuse obviously stopped because of being in the hospital, but the psychological and the verbal did not. So I had gone to him and said, this isn't working. I can't do this anymore. You have to do something. You have to get out. This is my house. And of course, he immediately got defensive, started screaming at me, yelling. And all I did was I pretty much crossed my arms and I stood there and I thought, I'm not moving. It's my house. I'm not physically moving from the spot I'm in at the moment with him. And I just looked at him and I stood my ground. And I knew because of all the quotes and things that helped me get my mindset right, and of course, everything that I had gone through with the surgeries, I knew this was the right thing to do. I knew it was time for me to finally take that stand. Whatever happened would happen. Now, by this time, I knew because I had had my encounter with Archangel Michael. So I knew by this point that I was protected. I am divinely protected.
Yes.
He is constantly with me, and he has saved my life at every point that he needed to. So he didn't like it. The ex didn't like it. He kicked and screamed and hollered and did what narcissistic, psychopathic SOBs do. And it was about a week later, he actually said to me, he said, I'm going to see a friend about a room to rent. And he never came home. And I found out after the fact that he actually did not go there, another lie. He actually went to the girlfriend's house and stayed with her for about 8 months, 9 months. Till she got tired of his abuse and kicked him out of her house. And of course, he tried to come back, and I was like, no, not happening. Not happening. I am finally at a happy place. You're not coming back. So it was a long road, Lino, for me from 2015 with the gunshot wound to the head, and 2018 when I said, I'm done. I mean, it was almost three. In fact, it was almost 3 years till I could finally say enough is enough. And I don't want, which is why I do this, I don't want other women to have to go. If it is, it is. But if you don't have to go through 3 more years of what I went through, if I can help that, that's why I'm here. That's why I do what I do. That's why I coach.
thanks so much for sharing your incredible story. I mean,
Oh, you're welcome.
you're an amazing woman. I mean, you are sassy, okay? I'm telling you, you're a sassy woman. You glow and you're beautiful, you're gorgeous, you're strong.
Thank
What
you.
point were you able to turn it all around and say, you know what, I want to help other women? When did that happen?
That actually did not happen up until the beginning of this year. It
Oh,
was
wow.
yes, yes. So as much as, from 2018 when I kicked him, there was no way I could talk to anybody from 2018 to, basically January, February of this year to say, okay, this is what happened. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was fine. I thought I was okay. I thought I was healed. I had, posters all over the place and quotes all over the place. And it was the typical, I had gone through AA. It was the typical fake it till you make it. Okay.
Hmm.
And that's what I was trying to do. I didn't know any better. Okay. I was trying to help as many people as I could. I had gone back to work. I ended up starting my own business. What happened was I wanted to write my story. I knew I needed to write a book about the shit that I had gone through, okay? And meeting Archangel Michael and the abuse that I went through. I knew I needed to write a book. So I started to go back to school. Well, in wanting to go back to school to learn more English, and not the language, the writing part,
Right, right.
I discovered copywriting. I thought, oh, well, I'm still not 100% because my liver's not completely 100% healed. It never will. Um, I discovered copywriting. From there, I got into SEO and marketing and advertising. So I thought, well, I know me, I know my personality. I can't work for anybody, but I can work for myself. I've pretty much done it, almost my whole life. Small business. I love helping other small businesses. So I started my own consulting company. Was doing fine with that. Things were going along. I realized, okay, I need to do something with this house. I can't keep it. I went to my kids. I said, I think I'm going to move. They're like, yep, mom, do you. You got to do you. So that's how it started. And as when I came up to Tennessee here, I discovered I had quite a few of my business clients come to me and say, you ought to be a coach. You're so motivational. You need to be a coach. You need to be a coach. I'm like, well, what is a coach? I don't know what a coach is. I just know what I do. I love what I do. I love helping people. I love making them smile. So I looked into it. This is how we're guided by our angels and higher power
Exactly.
and everything
Yeah, they
else.
send
I love
messengers
it.
to us.
They do. They do. They do. I had discovered a coaching program. And even after taking the coaching program, still thinking that I was going to be a business consultant and still work the business side, I happened to be in what they called a coaching session. And we were doing a kind of like a one-on-one. It was a smaller group. We kind of break off from the big group and we form
Yeah.
all these little groups. And there were three of us in there. And I honestly, Lino, I can't even tell you that moment other than the light bulb went off and somebody said something to me. And I went, oh, this is so in this coaching session. I don't remember what somebody had said to me, and it was just that moment, that defining moment, that the light bulb went off and I went, oh, this is what I need to do. I am being called to help other women be sassy. I am called to help them through being abused and help them get to where I am. It took me a long time from 2018 when I finally had enough chutzpah, and to put my foot down and say, enough is enough. Get the hell out of my house. Don't come back. But I didn't talk about it. I didn't address it as much as I, tried to fake it till I make it. It wasn't until this moment, and I realized that everything just came full circle. I got off the coaching call and I sat in my office here and I cried, and they were happy tears. And it was like, Like, it was like, oh my God, it was absolutely beautiful. It was such a beautiful moment. I just knew that this is what I needed to do. That I'm on this mission to, not only to help women, but to teach them the tools and skills to help their children and men. As I said, that, men are abused almost as much as
Oh
women.
yeah.
So we need to, to open these lines of communication, to get this topic forefront, and to say enough is enough, that we cannot be abusing our humanity. It has to stop. So much of the world would be cured and better if we just had those communication skills that we lost or were not taught, that we need to find again.
Exactly. Yeah. It's simply by learning how to communicate and learning our human right, we can even
Yeah.
cure disease by doing that, and
Yes.
cure addictions and cure depression. Just there's so
Yes.
much if you just learn how to communicate.
Yes, yes, yes. Whether it's listening or talking, because remember, communication it's twofold. It takes two people. I could talk to my dog. Well, my dog listens to me,
Yeah.
so, but I could talk to the wall. I could talk to the lamp. But if the lamp doesn't listen, nothing's going to change. So
Hmm.
we have to be able to talk to each other. It means listening just as much as talking. And listening is not just listening to words that come out of somebody's mouth. It's listening to their body language, their eyes, their mannerisms, the way they're holding themselves, the way they, walk, talk. It's the whole body that we need to listen to, and we need to be able to speak from the heart instead
Yes.
of emotions.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Right.
Or anger. We need to learn to speak from a place of love and care instead of anger and fear.
I agree with you 100%. We need to speak from a place of love and care rather than fear. I agree with you right there.
Yeah.
Incredible words, incredible story. Sassy woman, Christine Malek, on a Little Less Fear podcast. She's a coach. She's helping other women overcome, geez, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of abuse and depression and addictions. I mean, wow, she's been through it, and she's helping so many women. I'm really, really happy, and I'm really glad that you finally found your purpose and that you're on your path.
Yes. Yes. That's exactly
So
what it is.
how can our
Thank you.
viewers or oh thank you. How can our viewers or watchers and our listeners find you, and how can they get coaching from you if they need it?
Thank you, Lino. The best place right now, and the only place that I try and concentrate, is on Facebook. So facebook.com/Sassy Coach Christine, and that is SASSI with the I. I do have a website. I'm still kind of working on it. That would be sassycoach.com. But yeah, those two places, that's the best. Calendar link is in both of them. Click the link. I always gift a free session, an hour. If it's an hour and a half, it doesn't matter. I take the time to communicate, to listen.
Yes.
So, whatever that woman needs, whatever, and man, whatever
Right.
that person needs, I'm there. I have to. As you said, that this, I get told this all the time, and you just said it too, that I glow. Well, that glow is because of
Yeah.
that passion and that fire that's in me to make a difference. We have to change this. We can change this. And if I start with just one woman at a time, I got quite a few years left in me, boy.
I have a hunch you'll be getting more men too.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so, because they need it more sometimes, I think, because it's not physical that they get all the time, although it is. It's a lot of that psychological.
Oh
And
yeah.
I do talk to men that are going, well, she hit me in the arm, and she beat on me and it didn't hurt. It didn't leave. Doesn't matter. It's still abuse. That doesn't mean you
Yeah,
have to
right.
take it,
Just because
you
it
know?
doesn't hurt doesn't mean it's not abuse.
Exactly. But she's this tiny little 5'1", 90 pounds. Doesn't matter.
Right, right. It's still
But
abuse.
right, because if you can't see it there, and again, I would go back to, what are your children seeing? What is the
Oh
outside world
yeah.
seeing? What is your family seeing? We have to break the cycle, and we
Protect
can
your
do it.
boundaries.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank
So
you so much for
sassy.
being on my podcast. You're an
Oh,
amazing
honey, thank you.
beam of light. I'm really, really
Thank you.
blessed to have had you on my show. Thanks so much, and I hope we keep in
Yeah.
touch.
I do too. Thank you, Lino. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to A Little Less Fear podcast. For more information on my social media pages, you can visit me at www.alittlelessfear.com. I also have an incredible list of resources for people all over the world, and it's really formulated to help all kinds of people: LGBTQIA community, Alcoholics Anonymous, disabilities. The list goes on. So feel free to visit my website, alittlelessfear.com. You can also email me at alittlelessfear@gmail.com. I'm also on Patreon. I'm a life purpose counselor on Patreon. This is available for everybody, and it's also available for only exclusive members on Patreon. Everybody's welcome. So please visit me there at www.patreon.com/alittlelessfear. Thank you to all the new followers and subscribers. Go ahead and hit the follow, subscribe button if you haven't already, and tell your friends and family about A Little Less Fear podcast. Thanks so much for all your support. Love you all. Have a blessed day.